how you can help people.
Yeah, so we do a lot of infertility, stress, pregnancy, that sort of thing at New Leaf. And I suppose when someone has been having problems for a while, and like I said, it's an average of 2 years that people take to fall pregnant these days.
Wow.
So, and 1 in 6 couples in Australia are infertile.
Right.
And infertility isn't counted until well over a year. So, if it's just not happening for the first year or two, quite often it's considered quite normal. So that really is.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And it's sort of if you think about, like we were talking about, stress actually creates inflammation, and inflammation is one of the major causes.
Yep.
So and people misunderstand inflammation because often they think of, say, redness or swelling or pain or that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's not that sort of thing. I'm talking individual cellular inflammation that you're not aware of, because your body has got all of these mechanisms in place so that you don't feel it. So when we are stressed, when we are inflamed, it chews up minerals faster. So we can be running on like 3 cylinders all the time, because whatever food we're eating might be being more required for the nutritional deficiencies we're causing by being stressed.
Wow.
So therefore you can have people who say eating an organic diet, or making sure, like Mirusia, that they are eating plenty of fresh fruit and veggies and nuts and seeds and good quality proteins and things. But if you are stressed, it shuts down the gut. Right. So therefore you're less likely to absorb your nutrition. So therefore sometimes you're not even getting the benefit of all of the good stuff you're doing.
Right.
And isn't it cool that she just knew to change that sort of thing? Because I often find that doctors are less likely to discuss diet with pregnancy, because they haven't found, at the moment, most of the research with pregnancy health is about the microbiome, and it's about nutritional deficiencies rather than about stress and toxicity. Yeah. So obviously medically they know that if women are iron deficient, then that impacts on bubby. So iron is checked regularly. They know that the thyroid is one of the things that tends to go out during pregnancy. So they'll check the TSH, the thyroid stimulating hormone. But if someone is exhausted during pregnancy, you have to think, well, we're creating another little human being in here. Yeah. Once we're pregnant.
That's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and it requires a massive amount of nutrition. So this is where the supplements aren't just a bonus. They're actually really important for that cellular growth, that cellular replication, which is what we're doing for 9 months, creating another human being. But back to the infertility side for a sec, we tend to do the testing, like looking at the blood and doing an oligo scan and doing a VLA and that sort of thing, because the combination of those tests lets us see immune dysregulation, which is hugely involved, more so in men with infertility. So one of the I'm going to mention the S word, sperm. So not the S word. So there's something called sperm fragmentation, and it's happening a lot more in men who are stressed and inflamed. Right. So basically what it means is, instead of having these nice little sperm that are nice and whole and strong, they actually have bits falling off them.
Oh.
Fragmented.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So basically it tends to mean that toxins are attacking the sperm, or that oxidative stress or free radical damage is basically in there in the environment around the sperm, and it's deteriorating the cell membrane of the sperm itself.
Uh-huh.
So once again, the things we need to help to move that along are stuff like vitamin D and lots of zinc. Sperm are 90% zinc by weight. So, zinc is important. Zinc's your number one thing as a dude. Got to get your zinc in, which of course is stuff like oysters, which is also good for fertility.
So happens that I had half a dozen oysters last night.
How'd you have them?
Half a dozen. I just opened the shells up.
Oh, right, so you go neat.
Oh, yes.
Just salt water, nothing else.
Oh, yes. Thanks, Mike. They're lovely. So I'm having more tonight.
I love oysters.
Yeah.
I like them in any way. I've had them, I don't care how they are. I always like them. Yum. Anyway, oysters, very good for men, very good for fertility. Things like sunflower seeds, high in zinc. Things like meats and eggs are really, red meats particularly, really high in zinc. So it's often the animal products that are. Because if you think about the weight of the sperm, and for guys who go and have a sperm test, they only require about 10% of them to be normal to be considered okay, because of course the little dodgy ones aren't going to be the ones that are going to swim in there
and the canal.
Exactly, so to speak. So it's sort of so with that, then you think about, well, what about the dodgy ones? What if because if we have such low expectation in that testing, and then there's a lot of dodgy ones, then, you know, they're not the ones that are going to make the healthiest little bubbies.
Right.
But it's antioxidants, so it's things like vitamin A and D and E and K and zinc and magnesium and vitamin D is really huge for men actually because it helps to protect the genes. So basically, and for women during pregnancy as well. But vitamin D is one of the nutrients that there's so much research going on it's gene protective. So you know how we've chatted before, we've all got somewhere between 500 and 1,000 dodgy genes waiting to be activated.
Yeah.
And the things that activate them are, say, toxicity or stress or immune, like if you got a really bad nasty virus that you couldn't get on top of, or it basically requires like a jolt to the system to damage the DNA to allow a dodgy gene to be activated.
Ah, okay.
So, for example, with cancer, and once again, not really talking infertility here, but you need to have damaged 22 genes on your mother's side and 22 genes on your father's side to be able to develop cancer. So there's 44 genes. I mean, we've got 23,000 of them,
Well,
but you know,
right, okay.
but,
That's explained,
but
yes.
nonetheless, you know, you have to have done that to develop cancer.
Right.
So there's all sorts of, but vitamin D is protective. Good old vitamin D.
Well, yes, it was only the other week we were talking about vitamin D, and it was a very interesting subject.
Yeah.
Because I was saying, well, hang on, I go out in the sun,
Yeah.
but I'm not getting enough vitamin D.
Now one of my researchers I was chatting to yesterday was saying our absorption gets worse as we get older.
Oh,
So
well,
that
so young, I'm only 42.
Exactly. So I don't know what's going on then.
You're only 28.
Yeah, my first grandbaby coming. So yeah, it's sort of interesting because the more we do to protect our genes,
Yeah.
and we can sometimes reverse damage to DNA as well. So it's doing the same things that causes damage. So to cause damage, you know, it's all those things like oxidative stress, free radical damage, immune dysfunction,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So you can imagine if you want to reverse the damage, you do the opposite.
Right.
So you,
Makes sense.
you reduce your stress, you reduce your inflammation in your life, which can be inflammatory foods and things as well. So obviously, if you have so for example, the combination of non-organic and genetically modified wheat, along with stodgy, say dairy, that combination can activate all sorts of inflammation in the gut. So people might feel bloated with dairy, or they might feel tired after a sandwich, or they might, you know. So, but basically, that tiredness tends to be a side effect of inflammation.
Ah, okay.
So it's so we need to sort of look at that sort of thing. When we do try to help people with infertility, we do some testing, we see what's going on in their body, because like Mirusia said, everyone's different.
Ah.
You know, what a surprise. You have to look at the individual and go, okay, this person's low in iodine, we're going to need to support their thyroid through the process. If the vitamin D is low, then kids are more likely to end up with eye issues, needing glasses early on. So, you know, looking at individual nutrients can then prevent, and getting them right during the pregnancy can really help with a child's health down the track.
I'm just one of those people who really do know the outsides of health, but I mean, once we start talking to you and you know all the insides, it's quite incredible.
It really is.
Yeah.
And with the microbiome, going back 2 years ago, there were maybe a couple of research articles released a year. Now it's 3 or more per day around the world. And these are proper scientific journals around the world. And we were chatting about that first 1,000 days of a child's life, how important that is.
Yeah.
And because poor kids these days, some people are really lucky and have that perfect healthy baby, but so many children have allergies, so many children have asthma or ADHD or learning problems or anxiety, or, you know, it's challenging to have. And I'm not saying these other kids aren't perfect. That's not what I'm saying.
No, I know what you're saying.
But, you know, it's challenging to have perfect health in a child. And especially when the regulations don't allow good quality levels of nutrition going on in supplements. So they really lower the amount that are in a lot of multivitamins and things.
Right.
So unless you're seeing a naturopath, you're not going to know you're low in these things, and you're not going to know that you can actually take different levels to what's, available on the shelves.
All right, well, let's take a little break and then we'll come back and chat some more. You happy with that?
Absolutely.
Oh, fantastic.